Hi, it's Dr. Kim Lee, child psychiatrist from CGI Clinic. I treat children who have a video gaming addiction, and today's video is brought to you by Natasha Beta, who is a journalist from News Corp, who's asked me to share with her some resources on brain scans in people who play video games heavily. Now, I've found a brain scan article from China that was published last year on players who played League of Legends excessively. So I'll go to the study. The study was published in Addiction Biology last year. It was done by a team in China. The authors are here in the corner here. Now, they looked at the role of what's called the insula in internet gaming disorder. So what is the insula? The insula is deep within the brain and is involved in reward pathways. And this study is essentially looking at a few different things. Firstly, the hyperactive reward system, impulsive reward system in people who play video games excessively and lose control. And also the hypoactive reflective system or braking system in the frontal part of the brain. Now imagine you're driving a car, and if you have a hyperactive impulsive reward system, it's like putting the accelerator on full blast, putting the foot pedal to the metal, all the way full blast, and there's no in between. It's out of control. Now, you're going to want to put on the brakes, which is the front part of the brain, but the front part of the brain, the brakes are underactive, And so this is what happens in brains of gamers who play excessively. And so in this article, what they did was they got 25 players who played League of Legends for at least 3.5 hours a day for the past 1.5 years. And then they got a control group who didn't play any video games in the past 6 months. Now, what they did is quite fascinating. They scanned their brains and they showed them videos, 2 different videos. These are the 2 different videos. I'm going to minimize my video here. The first video is the control video, and it's a group of teenagers singing a hymn or a Christmas carol. You can see that it's very calming, very boring. And compared to the video game, very exciting and loud, the League of Legends in play, and there's lots of flashing lights, and people getting very excited. And so they watched their brains and looked at the different parts of the brain and how they lit up whilst they were in the brain scanner. And this is what they found. As you can see here, this is the front part of the brain with the eyeballs. This is the insula part, the inner insula part, the left side of the brain, the front part of the brain. And this is what they found. They found that in the gamer group in blue, in the insula part, the inside reward, the impulsive area, it shot up. It shot up when you watch the League of Legends video. It's getting the rewards like, yes, I'm watching something that I really enjoy. Compared to the choir group, it didn't really light up at all. And then when they watched the control group, it didn't really light up. And then with the choir video, obviously the blue group, the gamer group, didn't light up much at all. And the control group, it did light up. Looking at the front part of the brain, area B, the gamer group, the front part of the brain, the brakes were underactive. The brakes were not on when they watched the video. In the control group, the non-gamer group, it lit up. And in the choir group, the front part of the brain was like, stop it, I don't want to watch this, can't watch this anymore, and it's going like crazy. And in the control group, I guess they didn't really like the choir video that much either. Now this is looking at the brain scans when they brought the gamers back. So the 25 gamers who played lots of League of Legends, they split them up into 2 groups. What they did was they asked one group, hey, just for the research, the night before, please don't play any League of Legends. We want you to crave the game by the time you come and watch the video the second time. And what they did was, I think they got them to play League of Legends just before they hopped into the machine. And what they found out is that the group that were allowed to play the video games, the blue group, they didn't change their gaming habits at all. The Insula part didn't really light up much more when they watched the League of Legends video. But the group that were deprived from playing the video game, their favorite video game the night before, they were craving it. And by the time they were allowed to play it again and watch the video, their Insula was just like going full blast, just like driving as fast as possible, very impulsively. And they were loving it. They were getting their rewards. When they watched the choir video, again, nothing there. Now, the front part of the brain, the brakes. When the group that were allowed to play normally, again, some activation, but not huge. But the deprived group, the group that weren't allowed to play, their brains, the front part of the brains were thinking to themselves, hey, maybe there is something wrong with my behavior. Maybe I do play a little bit too much. Maybe I shouldn't play as much anymore or cut down. And so their front part of the brains were actually active again. The last video is looking at, again, comparing the insula and the front part of the brain. And what they're saying is that the reward systems in people who play video games excessively mimic that of people who might smoke cigarettes excessively or take substances excessively or abuse substances. And the front part of the brain is underactive. Yeah. And when you are going through a withdrawal and you don't have access to that habit that you normally used to, your brain starts shooting messages to you saying, where is it? Find some more video games. Let's go find a video game, a keyboard. Let's go watch a video. Let's stream. And when you're exposed to the cue, the cravings are like, wow, yes, this is the reward that I want. But at the same time, when you take that break, the front part of your brain goes, hey, hang on a sec. This is not a really healthy feeling. Maybe I need to cut down. And so that's an example of a brain scanning study done on people who play games too much. This study came out from China. It's a fairly small study, but again, very fascinating and gives us more evidence that excessive video game use can be harmful and potentially dangerous. When you're playing every day, habitually, that's why the games nowadays, they give you a reward for every time you log in. And so they want you to play 7 days in a row, because at the very end of that 7 days, you get a bigger reward. Yeah, you get a bigger hit. And you're like, yeah, I got to work for that. I got to keep logging in. But then they've got you, because when you've signed in for that 7th time, it's reinforced that insular part of your brain 7 days in a row, and it's making lasting changes. And so what you need to do is you actually need to give yourself a break 1 day a week, a couple of days a week, where you're not playing games at all, doing something else, just to break up that rhythm, cause some friction, and interrupt that habitual game playing. Thanks again. See ya.